Throughout the course of history, ancient civilizations have been characterized by a rigid gender binary that usually yields a lack of gender equity. Women were generally perceived as the weaker and more passive sex, while men were considered dominant, brawny, and valiant. This firmly bifurcates characteristics, creating them in a vacuum as either feminine or masculine in nature. This affected legislator and societal customs as it disabled women from participating in political processes, owning property, or possessing other rights such as divorce that were granted to men. If gender equity is what helps breed gender equality, then this is why these societies lack total egalitarianism, as women were not granted the kind of opportunities that men consistently were. Without gender equity, there cannot be gender equality. Both must exist in a society for it to be considered truly a place that is fair towards men and women. This is especially evidenced by the motifs and nature of the artwork produced in a myriad of these societies, encapsulating the lack of gender equity espoused by these civilizations, especially stemming from the skewed perceptions of each sex. This art exhibit serves as an examination of femininity and masculinity throughout the ancient civilizations.
Edwin the Scribe from Romanesque Europe is a portrayal of the renowned scribe meticulously copying manuscripts. While masculinity may not be defined in terms of strength or dominance in this artwork, it conveys the religious power that men automatically possessed. Men were permitted to become members of the clergy, such as priests, bishops, and popes. This meant that femininity was denied all of this simply because a woman was a woman. If a woman could not contribute to the Western culture in the way that Edwin the Scribe could, this is an issue of both gender equality and gender inequity. The fact that she is not granted equal opportunities is a testament to the fact that the society is patriarchal and adheres to the rigid gender binary and roles. Gender inequity exists because women are not being treated fairly on the basis that they are women, and society is not offering them the proper resources to ensure that they are able to accomplish in the same manner as men.
In Gothic Europe, when a woman was portrayed in the artwork, it was particularly a religiously inspired creation of the Virgin Mary. One such example is the Virgin and Child and Angels, which is a detail of a window in the choir of Chartres Cathedral in France. This divine and heavenly perception of the Virgin Mary as pure, untouched, and virginal defines the notion of femininity in Christianity. Femininity in Gothic Europe adhered to the same kind of gender norms and roles that ancient civilizations did, which consequently restricted their sexualities. This was because in Catholicism, women were rigidly defined as either virgin madonnas or whores. By branding them with these two definitive labels, it defined them in terms of their sexualities. This impeded women from any kind of sexual empowerment or ownership of their sexualities, which yet again highlights how the society treated and viewed women in unfair terms. Simply because of their femininity, they were now expected to conform to specific gender roles or face social disgrace and communal contempt. There is no gender equity in a society that does not have gender equality.
These art pieces have all properly evidenced that there has been a clear designation of gender norms, roles, and stereotypes, as civilizations have defined the terms of masculinity and femininity. Unfortunately, due to the perceived notion of women throughout the course of history, this inhibited them from receiving fair treatment from their government. While contemporary society has definitely progressed towards ensuring gender equity, this proves to be challenging as societies still battle these same gender norms and ideals. Gender equity will only be enough when it is achieved alongside total gender equality, which ensures that women and men both receive the same opportunities and resources, but are also treated completely fairly, especially legally and politically. These artwork reflected within these ancient civilizations grossly indicated there was a serious breach of fairness in these societies, tipping the advantage point towards the men because they were allowed to lead, command, possess power, property, and maintained other rights that women did not. The exhibit explores the question: how can a society be fair if it has defined one sex in terms that disable and debilitate it? The answer is that it cannot.